Hey everyone, it's Bob Pym here and welcome to another session of study doing the collections subject, which I hope will grab your interest a bit. It's a very practical subject. It covers very wide ranging. There's a lot of content, and I think there's enough in there to really, if you're working in the business, it will help you think about things perhaps in a slightly different light. And if you're not, then I hope it gives you the basics so that you can understand quite clearly what we're talking about collections these days, because it's changed, hasn't it? Once upon a time we thought of collections as physical things on shelves. Today it's not anywhere near as clear cut. Okay, we still do have physical things on shelves, but of course we've got a massive amount of electronic materials which sit on someone's server somewhere in America or the UK or Australia. So we have access to a whole heap of material that once upon a time we never had access to. But at the same time, we don't actually control it like we used to as well. Once you've got it on your shelf, obviously you own it and you control it. You don't control it when it's sitting on someone else's server somewhere else. So there's whole issues there, and we talk about licensing and we talk about accessing those particular materials. And we talk about traditional stuff as well, acquisitions and selection and acquisitions. There's still important principles that apply, whether it's electronic materials or print. This particular subject is obviously offered over Christmas summer semester, and everything gets a bit squished up because of Christmas in the middle and New Year. So please keep on top of the weekly modules. There's a lot going on. The forum participation mark encourages you to post your comments when they're due, not 3 weeks later. So do make sure you don't have to respond every week to a forum. You don't have to make a contribution every week, but I think it is important to get in there and do it regularly, and also to do it on time. There's not much point in doing it 3 weeks later when most of us have moved on in the subject. So talking about assessment, the first one is relatively straightforward, an evaluation of a collection development policy, and we give you a few to choose from, and the idea is you draw on the criteria that we discuss in the relevant modules, and just a common sense thing as whether this policy covers the points that you would expect in a good collection development policy, where you can see gaps if there are ones, where you can't understand it, maybe that sort of thing. So it's quite reasonably clear cut. And as always, make sure you read the question carefully and the marking criteria. So think about those things, but above all, read the question carefully. Now, the second assignment is a little bit trickier, probably, in that we're expecting you to think a lot about what you've learnt in the subject and then apply it to a make-believe situation or a real situation. You can decide that, it doesn't matter. As long as what you talk about is well argued and your recommendations make sense within the context of the library or information organization you're talking about. So I think it's a good idea to carefully read that assignment now as soon as you can, and then keep that in the back of your mind when you're working through each module every week. Make notes about stuff that might be relevant for that final assignment, because the final assignment is supposed to cover everything, and it draws on you should be able to draw on lots of material that you found in the modules as you go along that are relevant to answering that question. So do think about that as you're reading the modules. Again, read the question carefully, think about what it wants, think about the reporting format it's asking you to use, that sort of stuff. Do try to get your assignments in on time. It is a very tight turnaround, and I will do my very best to get them back to you as quickly as possible, certainly well within the 3 weeks, hopefully 2 weeks turnaround. Can be a bit tricky because of Christmas, of course, but do try to make sure that you are getting in and delivering stuff on time. I think that's probably it. Do, as I say, participate in the forum. There's quite a decent number. I'm not quite sure how many in the subject. I think about 30. So there's a good number of people. Lots of useful comment will come out. Don't be shy about posting on the forum. You're not going to say anything stupid. The very least is you're going to say something that, oh, this is the answer, and someone's going to tell you. So please do get stuck into it, and importantly, enjoy the subject, and also enjoy, if you're in Australia, the summer weather, and wherever you are, Christmas and your New Year celebrations. So all the best with the subject, and I look forward to interacting on the forum. All the best. Cheers.